an assurance that once government's program with the IMF is approved, it will invest in vital areas of the economy. The BWU pushes its case for a 5% hike for BWA workers. And in sports, Barbados loses to Ecuador in a Davis Cup tie.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, government is expecting its homegrown IMF program will soon be approved. Word of this from Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Marcia Cadell. Now, she says once this occurs, government will be able to invest in more areas such as sanitation and maintenance. Sharika Griffith has that story.
Minister Cadell's comments come as Barbados joined the rest of the world in observing World Cleanup Day.
We expect that soon the program with the fund will be approved by the board and that we will start to have the fiscal space to be able to invest more in environment and sanitation and maintenance.
She was speaking at the launch of Phase 2 of the National Cleanup Program, which involves removing bulk waste such as old TVs, refrigerators and derelict vehicles. Minister of Environment Trevor Prescott says government had already identified some 40 vehicles in the Britain's Hill area alone.
The reality is that we have to move cautiously because some smart individual might claim that something is of greater value than it is, and therefore the government, even in an attempt to doing good, might find itself involved in some kind of judicial form of action. And we don't want that because in the end we'll have to pay out of the taxpayers' money.
And according to Minister Prescott, government would also be cleaning up vacant lots once permission is granted by the owner. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
The Barbados Workers Union is awaiting a response from the Barbados Water Authority on how and when it intends to pay the 5% and other monies outstanding due to its workers. Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley announced the pay increase for public sector workers during the mini-budget in June. But after seeking legal advice on the matter, the authority's board said the workers were not legally entitled to the increase. The board also argued that prior salary increases were discretionary and that the workers did not have a legitimate expectation to receive the money. While BWU General Secretary Senator Tony Moore says this position changed after an intense meeting held yesterday.
We were further pleased that even though belatedly, the management of the authority was finally able to secure more recent information from the Ministry of the Civil Service dated August 24th this year to corroborate what the BWU has always known to be the arrangement governing salaries for workers of the authority and similarly for other statutory boards.
Senator Moore says the authority's board requested an adjournment to have further talks with its members on the matter, and she expects a follow-up meeting no later than next Friday.
At that time, we anticipate that the management of the BWA would present a comprehensive proposal from the board that would address, amongst other things, the schedule of payment of the 5% salary increase and the matter of payment of outstanding monies, which were agreed since March 2016 as compensation owed to the workers of the Barbados Water Authority in lieu of unpaid increments, with effect from April 1, 2015.
As Barbados looks to build out its blue economy, Minister with responsibility for that sector is lamenting the country's shortage of technical expertise. Minister Kirk Humphrey says Barbados's sea space is 400 times larger than its land space. However, there are insufficient structural engineers for land, much less for the ocean.
We are having conversations around expanding our port. That's going to be a massive undertaking. We're talking about building out a new cruise terminal. Also going to be a massive undertaking. We're talking about using the sea to generate energy We're talking about deepening our oil and gas exploration offshore. I mean, all of these things. And what troubles me is that when we are having these conversations, it is not, in terms of the technical people, a lot of the times it's not with other Barbadians.
Minister Humphrey says government is ready to offer training to people who are interested.
When I look at what we are about to do and where we are about to go, I do not want to say that in 2-3 years we're still buying in those skills. So if the government must play a role in terms of training up people, then let us train up the people. But if you can help us identify where you need to go, we could help you get there if we work together as a team and as a partnership, because that is where Barbados now has to go.
The 2018 hurricane season is in its peak, and efforts are on to make Barbadians aware of the potential dangers associated with this time of year. Members of the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee are among those who are staging various educational events to ensure that people are prepared. And today they hosted a Disaster Preparedness Awareness Day in Jubilee Gardens in the city. The 2018 ambassadors, Justin Paris and Sherry-Ann Lord, handed out flyers and shared information with shoppers traversing the city. Chairperson Rashid Drakes explains that it's part of the wider project for the ambassadors this year called Saving Ourselves, or SOS.
This activity is being used to sensitize and educate the residents of St. Michael to properly prepare for any natural disaster that may occur. As mentioned, the displays that we have are from the Barbados Red Cross, the Department of Emergency Management, Carb Supply, and we also have our display from the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee. So residents of St. Michael and the wider Barbados will basically have a better understanding on how to prepare for any natural disaster. In addition to the activities planned for the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee, we will be erecting our Be Tsunami Smart sign on Browns Beach.
The Barbados Agricultural Society wants policymakers to consider all the variables that exist in the environment before making planning decisions. Chief Executive Officer James Paul says some development, whether planned or unplanned, is having an impact on the livelihood of farmers. Mr. Paul notes that in some cases, the habitats of local wildlife are being destroyed, which then lead to the animals invading communities.
Certainly, those variables include the farmer's interest in terms of to recognize that when you have a development, the extent to which having the development in a particular locale can actually compromise the livelihood of farmers. And also to extend into that, the whole question of the wildlife population in the area, the extent to which we are compromising their habitats. We have seen when they did the Four Seasons project some time ago, the destruction of the habitats of the monkey population. And the fact that as a result of that, they proved to be a pest to persons who lived in surrounding areas where they were not a pest before.
Well, Mr. Paul assured farmers the BAS is working actively on their behalf, and another matter of concern is attacks on livestock by dogs.
We know, for instance, that dogs have also been proven to be a pest, especially to livestock farmers. They have caused a lot of destruction even recently. And generally it speaks to how people manage the animal population, and whether or not people are prepared to at least or recognize the importance of abiding by the rules. And it's simple that we need to understand that our actions impact on other people. We cannot have a situation where people become extremely irresponsible in terms of how they manage animals, and then when the problem gets too big for them, all that happens is that they let it go and let it on to the wider population.
A newly formed charity consisting of a group of concerned animal welfare advocates is on a quest to promote the human-animal bond and assist in solving problems related to domestic and wild animals. It's called Action for Animals Barbados, or AFAB. Acting President Gail Hunt says the charity is reaching out to Barbadians, educating them on animal rights.
We look towards going into schools, we look towards using our social media platforms, other media platforms to educate persons on how they can care for their animals. It could be things simple as how do you, what's the importance of socializing dogs? It could be something as simple as that. It could also be something more complex in terms of like looking at wildlife with the monkeys, how we can make sure that the monkeys stay in their habitats. The solution is very simple, as Karen would have explained. It's really just to get the food back into the gullies. You know, it's not really complicated.
Ms. Hunt says a number of events are planned for October, including outreach programs. AFAB is also concerned over the lack of disaster preparedness for pets.
To look at things like legislation in terms of issues related to service animals coming into Barbados with persons with disabilities, having accessibility coming to Barbados with their service dogs. That's another area that we're interested in. We want to look at the abandonment of dogs and the overpopulation of dogs through educating persons about the importance of spaying and neutering and stuff like that. It's a new operation, it's a new charity, so we're kind of like finding a way at the moment. But our primary objective is to educate persons on the importance of animal welfare, but at the same time to work with people, because we realise that it's about changing the cultural mindset.
An international fashion designer is hoping to find inspiration for his new creations right here in Barbados. He made the comments during a meet and greet with local fashion design students. Sharika Griffith tells us more.
Anthony Williams, who rose to fame as a contestant on the U.S. reality show Project Runway, is in Barbados to judge the Miss Universe Barbados pageant. He's excited to experience the local culture.
I'm hoping that I see something that is new and fresh and different, because surely I didn't take 2 planes to come here and see, you know, what I could see down the street from my house. I hope that I see something that is specific to Barbados. I think that's the thing as designers. You stop shaking your head. I think as designers, that's what I want. I want to come and embrace your culture and find a way to take it back to the States and celebrate who you are through my presence.
While here, Mr. Williams took time to meet with students from the Barbados Community College's fashion design program. He challenged the room full of young women to share their talents with the rest of the world.
The greatest thing about the internet and the greatest thing about social media outlets is that it's now given us a voice, and it created an equal playing field that we may not have had otherwise. Do you not agree? When I was growing up, the only way you even had a shot at being in the fashion industry was to have a lot of money, because that's what it took. And now, if you get a lot of likes, you can go pretty far.
Mr. Williams also revealed that he's in the process of creating an online curriculum for fashion students around the world. It's his way of giving back. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.